All right, it's Stadium Watch on our hot topic here on Morning Kick Round. I think we need a new stinger there at the top for the stadiums. I'm something like Stadium Watch, like Panda Watch in Anchorman. I don't know if you recall that they had a whole segment for Panda Watch on that movie. But that aside, some interesting and some promising news coming out in the stadiums. It seems like every other day there's a new set of renderings or some update from across North America about soccer-specific stadiums. So let's start off probably with, how about the most exciting is Pittsburgh. Let's head over to Pittsburgh. What's going on over there, Jason?
So they announced, the Riverhounds did, the intention of spending $125 to $150 million on expanding Highmark Stadium in Pittsburgh. You probably have seen the pictures, and probably what I should have done, because I have the renderings, and you know how excited I get about renderings, Rob?
Renderings!
One of my favorite things in the world are renderings. But what we probably should do, and I imagine most of our fans being, most of our listeners being in the know on American soccer, know this stadium, know what it looks like, know where it's located, right there on the river, right across from the Pittsburgh skyline. But they want to expand it for reasons, which we can definitely get to, from 5,500 to 15,000. What? That's an interesting number, Rob. 15,000. That sounds like a choice. This is my favorite part of the renderings. So obviously you have the river right there. You are limited. You can't build into the river. So they have this horseshoe effect with the stands going all the way around. Now, in this rendering, which is one of the, this is one of those lower level renderings. Like, we're not getting individual people on their cell phones and with their kids and stuff, and we're just kind of working on basics here. But what I like about this is every seat is covered. Rob, every seat is covered here. You've got the Hounds name in the seats there. This looks great. This looks unique. This would be, not only is Highmark's already unique in American soccer, but you make it look like this, and it will feel like sort of a proper, I don't want to say lower division, because that's not really fair, because they're gonna go for USL Premier or USL Division 1, but it's gonna have its own character, which we definitely need a lot of in American soccer.
Just by looking at that, I'm very impressed, and fingers crossed that the seat coverings, the roof there, becomes part of the final plan. I see some folks in the chat, hoping that what we see here is the reality of what actually happens. Construction and that whole process is a complicated issue, and I'm daydreaming, though, if they ever need to expand beyond this huge expansion, that'd be kind of wild. Do you remember in the Russian World Cup how they needed to expand, and they put that kind of like ghost stands peeking out of the side of the stadium? I was just thinking some sort of like crazy contraption where it's like over the river here. They just like build some super stand that's projected from over the road, over the river.
There are also, it's good, worth pointing out from Ronald, there are railroad tracks involved here. It's at the river, it's the railroad tracks. It's, again, they are sort of limited in what their footprint can be. To Pam's point, fabulous rendering, but what actually gets built can be significantly different. That is 100% true. They are targeting a 2028 groundbreaking. So this is 2025. We are 3 years away from even starting the process of building this or expanding Highmark, which, with the way that USL is talking, they would likely have D1 up by then, or right around that era. 27, 28 is, I think, is when they're targeting. We're a little thin on details, right? USL made the big media push. We're going to do this. We're going to have a first division. We're thinking about Pro Rel and all that. Okay, this says 2028 completion date from Ewan. Again, what I'm reading here from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says the team is targeting a 2028 groundbreaking for the expansion, although the construction timeline will depend on funding and permitting, says Riverhounds president Jeff Garner. And then once it is complete, the team expects to offer over 12,500 general admission seats and several thousand more premium club and field level seats. This is the next level for Pittsburgh. We do have a couple more renderings here if you want to see. So we've got this one fun. Is more. Yeah. So again, you kind of, this is character, man. Like, this just has character. You know what it reminds me of a little bit, although it's kind of different in the sense that you have that big flat building with the media and everything else. The Bombonera in Buenos Aires. La Bombonera for Boca Juniors has got that flat side. So there's like three sides of stands, and then you got that flat side. This one is more of a field level look that we get here. Again, sort of ghost figures on the field and that kind of thing. Craven Cottage, that's a good shout as well, right? Riverside stands, Riverside building, that kind of thing. Although,
That looks like a corner. What is that in the corner over there? Is that just various like decks or bars or something like that? That could be the Pittsburgh Cottage over there, I guess.
I mean, I think we just got, you got to be able to. I don't know. That's a good question. What exactly is that corner? But closing off that corner,
That's cool.
helps a bit too, because it closes in that part of the stadium. It's obviously going to hold noise. You have an open end with the river view and all that stuff. So, this is very exciting stuff for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. I'm hoping that we see, again, we see this look like the way they are rendering it. Although, again, I'm as skeptical as anybody that they're going to get exactly what they want. This, if you look on the riverside there underneath the scoreboard, Rob, that's really cool. You got kind of got people milling about there. I don't know if that's selling like standing room only kind of tickets there, sort of a walkway elevated above the field, that kind of stuff. I'm very into this, and I very much hope it happens.
Yeah, that's definitely of the renderings we had. That one stands out a lot. Definitely unique and definitely incorporates the unique terrain there. And I've always like watching a stream of a Riverhounds game is always pretty interesting. The background of the stuff going on there on the riverfront. But pushing on to another city and another soccer stadium with some more renderings. We talked about Sacramento, I believe, on Friday's show, but we have some more renderings coming over from the club, and wow, that's some lush art right there.
It is. It's beautiful. These are the fully realized renderings. Now, again, just like every other project, will it look exactly like this? We don't know. Construction, all those things. But I think, they had the groundbreaking. Maybe it's symbolic. There are still. We talked about this when we related this story, that there are some things with the tax district and all that stuff that they have to figure out. But they are intent on building this place. And I think maybe the most important detail that has come out in the reporting on this is that this is very much an MLS play still for Sacramento. While Pittsburgh is saying we want to get to 15 so we can get to a first division level and USL's top division when they launch it, Sacramento is still thinking if we can get to 20, this is not going to be 20. It's going to be 12,000 to start. But if we have the ability to expand to 20, which they have included in their plans, then we still have a shot at MLS in the future. Now, there's no cover on this stadium, Rob. I mean, this is very much it's beautiful. Concourse is beautiful. Entrances, obviously we get a little bit of the skyline. This is very cool. Like looks like a proper venue for a soccer club, and Sacramento has kind of earned this. Certainly the fans have earned this in Sacramento. It is ultimately just, 4 stands around a field until they get to that point of, okay, we're going to build to 15. We're going to build to 20 because we know what our ambition is.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat saying that this kind of looks like an MLS play, but some of those renderings here kind of reminds me, except for the stage part at the end, kind of reminds me a little bit of Bridgeview and SeatGeek Stadium in suburban Chicago, especially that shot of the outside walking in. That's definitely how the arrival to SeatGeek Stadium looks. But the non-covered stands in California, that sounds like a couple sunburns waiting to happen. Obviously, they're probably used to that as it stands now.
Yeah,
and then we got Pam in there saying Columbus Crew 1999.
It's better than that. It's better than that.
It's definitely dressed up more than
Crew
that.
Stadium was its own unique thing. This is better than Crew Stadium. Let's be fair. Now, you talked about the lack of a roof and sunburn. I have to bring this in because I think it is a talking point. Is if Major League Soccer flips their calendar, does USL intend to stay on the calendar that they're on, or will they have to follow suit? Now, again, there's lots of complications involved in that, and weather is a thing for everybody. Now, right now is too hot worse than too cold, or having to take breaks through parts of the winter, that kind of stuff. And we just on Monday's show, we talked about the game that was postponed 3.5 hours in Kansas City because of heat. Now, that was poor scheduling, but there's still going to be hot places that you have to deal with, and everybody's getting hotter. The West is getting hotter from what I can read and what I'm reading in terms of sort of climate change. So, maybe that is a concern. I don't know. I mean, you do have to worry about sun if you're going to play during the day. You just do.
We got one in the chat saying Miami FC has renderings. We don't have that in the deck right now, so we'll have to dig into that. Like every day, there's a stadium watch is a segment we could do. But moving along, we do have another note, maybe not quite as positive, but interesting development in Bridgeport, Connecticut. There is a project in the planning. Oh, that's I hadn't seen that yet. That is quite a cool badge there you put on the screen there, Jason.
Yeah,
but a major cleanup needed to build new Bridgeport soccer stadium, says a new report. And this project is intended for MLS Next Pro, I believe. Some beautiful renderings on screen. Looks like a beautiful facility. It seems wild that you'd build that for a league that I don't know how many people are quite sure what MLS Next Pro is all about. They're building a stadium in Grand Rapids, Michigan for this league. I believe the one in Cleveland is intended for that, and then now here in Connecticut. But the site that they're intending to build this has quite a history that they need to clean up first.
Yeah, tell us what has been on this site in Bridgeport. What
so
has been in that place?
So there has been developments on this site since the 1880s, apparently. They intend to have the stadium and a hotel and 1,000 housing units here, what we see on screen. But from the assessment here, they're going to have to clean up the remains from an ironworks, a coal yard, graphophone company, a pie company, a textile company, a corset manufacturer, a marine engine facility, a paper box company, a printing operation, trucking business, some other different manufacturing, and then most recently a Greyhound racing track. So it has a lot of ghosts lingering under the surface here that are going to have to be cleaned up.
For anybody who doesn't know the geography of this part of the country, Bridgeport down on Long Island Sound, so bottom southern part of Connecticut. Hartford is an hour away to the north. Okay, so just so you have it, because we have Hartford Athletic playing in the USL Championship. So if you're like, oh, another team in Connecticut, where are they based? How far away are they? That kind of thing. I guess you're right, Rob. Like, we just don't have a grasp yet on what MLS Next Pro means as a pro independent club enterprise, right? Like, what is this? Is MLS Next Pro going to move on from being a development league for Major League Soccer? There are a couple of independent teams in the league now. They seem to be adding more. When we talk about League One and the growth of League One and how excited we are for that, one thing we say is that this is USL creating a very reasonable entry point to pro soccer based on the costs involved, right? You don't have to spend $500 million to get a pro soccer team off the ground. And if you're not in a major metropolitan market, it's great to be able to say, I want to join a league and I only have to put up a couple $1 million, get a couple people involved financially, and here we go. Obviously, stadiums are a thing, but MLS Next Pro is also an option right now at that same level. Is it a better option, Rob? Like, would you rather be playing against Columbus Crew 2 than against Portland Hearts of Pine or Union Omaha or Greenville Triumph? Like, I don't know. Like, it's a very weird one for me that this is now a place where you're putting in independent teams. And after going away from it, because in the beginning of the MLS, it wasn't MLS Next Pro at the time. I think it was, I don't remember what it's called, but remember we had the Philadelphia Union's second team was not Philadelphia Union 2. It was Bethlehem Steel, right?
Yep.
And I remember at a point the Sounders had Tacoma Defiance, and then the league was like, actually, what you need to do is all these teams need to be a second team from your main brand, and we don't want you splitting off and dividing your brand up. So then you're Seattle Sounders 2 and Philadelphia Union 2. But now they're going back in the other direction. So the Sounders team in MLS Next Pro is Tacoma Defiance. Nashville's team in MLS Next Pro doesn't play in Nashville. They play in Huntsville, Alabama down the road, and they're Huntsville City FC, right? So there's nothing that like ties them directly brand-wise to the MLS team. So is the plan long term to split these teams off as brands and then also have independent teams to populate the? Like, I don't know any of that, and it seems very muddled at this point.
Yeah, not quite sure where it goes. And I know that there is a slight bit of like using the MLS name to gain some or just kind of pave the way for these new places. Because I know in Grand Rapids, when I've asked my friends that live out that way, they said that the general public thinks that an actual MLS team is coming. And so does that excitement subside when the general public realizes they're going to be playing reserve teams? And then so maybe they get people to show up like, oh, we're going to go to MLS and it says Columbus Crew 2. Like how much continued excitement can you get from that?
And this is something we also need to dive into. Okay. So there are a couple of stories that I'm very intrigued by right now in sort of lower division American soccer. One of them involves USL and Des Moines. We talked briefly about a plan to bring USL to Des Moines, Iowa. That seems to be a little bit dead in the water. The owner of the rights there in Iowa is the same guy that owns Parma in Italy. He's also the scion of the Come and Go family, Rob. So that's a story we need to dive into because I'm seeing some discontent among Des Moinesians, people from Des Moines, about where that project is going because it hasn't moved forward. And I've been asked to cover this, and we need to dive into it. Out in San Francisco, there are some bad feelings about what's going on with MLS Next Pro because there's a team planned for San Francisco called Golden City Football Club that wants to play in Kezar Stadium, which is a historic venue in the city of San Francisco. I think it's probably the only stadium where you can properly play soccer in the city of San Francisco. And San Francisco City is a team that exists and has been around for a long time that plays in that building. They're in USL League 2 at this point, so they're playing amateur soccer. But there's this sense that MLS Next Pro is trying to bully USL and this pre-existing club, San Francisco City, out of that venue. And I don't, I could very easily say MLS is the bad guy here. And I think most people would jump to that conclusion. But I would love to dive into that story and find out what's going on because, again, when you look at the MLS Next Pro pages, you see the planned expansion teams, the planned additions include that San Francisco team, Golden City, West Michigan Soccer, which you mentioned in Grand Rapids, Cleveland Pro Soccer, which you already mentioned, Connecticut United, who we just talked about, and Jacksonville Armada, who had a previous life in NASL and has been playing in the high levels of amateur soccer for a while. And I think we covered on this show, we had the guy who's behind the relaunch of Jacksonville Armada, Robert Palmer, on the program. So lots of things happening in kind of this weird, shifting allegiances and different leagues and what's the approach and what's best for these clubs when they want to go pro.
I think we can continue a lot of this conversation in our next segment, but exciting stuff in Pittsburgh and in Sacramento as well, and then some interesting developments in Bridgeport, Connecticut. If you'd like to support the show, just hit the subscribe button, take it up a notch, become a MK Ultra, a member of the channel, or you can reach out to us on social media at mkickaround. On X, Instagram, Blue Sky, morningkickaround@gmail.com. If you'd like to write a note to us, always like to get feedback from the viewers. And then also, if you'd like to support outside of YouTube, Morning Kick Around is on coffee.com/morning kick around.